Hey, what's up, cuz? What's going on? I let Dapper, I just came back for dinner. I'm at a conference. So, I just want to come at you. It is pretty late, but who cares? Come at you and tell you my experience in the trade. So, starting from the beginning, I worked for a large electrical contractor in the city, and it was at a known place that rhymed with rowing, and it was a tenant improvement. And at that time, and practically throughout my whole apprenticeship, I always kept an open mind. I always asked questions, and I just tried to absorb everything. So knowing nothing, whatever they asked me to do, I was doing it. Nothing absurd, but things that, whether it's just picking up garbage, I was doing because I'm new. I mean, why should I receive much more responsibility if I know nothing about electrical? And I think sometimes that is the wrong attitude to have, is to think that you're going to learn everything all at once. It takes time, and yes, sometimes you got to prove yourself. And so again, I was just trying to absorb everything. So back to that place, I learned how to pull large wire through pipes. I was soaping it, so it can go smoothly in the pipes. What else was I doing? Testing circuits. Mostly I was just pulling wire and then learning about safety equipment and like harnesses and all that, because there were some people that were working in bolts and all that. And so of course, I had to be the overseer to make sure that, testing the air and making sure that, they didn't pass out. And of course, they had gear for me to reel them out. And I also worked with someone just helping them, splice cable. I didn't actually splice the cable, but, I watched, I learned, I asked questions, help them, give them whatever tools they needed. And practically I was just like an overseer. I was a first year green person, so I didn't know much. My next job after that, there were quite a few of us over time. I think I was one of the first people there, first apprentices on the job. Then another person who was in the same level or same class as me came. And then another person that was, well higher than me. I think they were like a fifth year. Now we were like first years. And that's when I kind of got my first bad taste in my mouth, because, even though I'm glad I did learn a lot. I got to bend large pipe. I think it was I had to bend like 2-inch pipe, rigid, using a triple nickel to bend pipe, which is basically a piece of equipment where, I'll just put a picture. This is what it looked like. And then also putting up the lights, we needed supports. And so in order to get the supports, we had to prepare them. And as apprentices, that was our job. And so we had to loosen the nuts on the supports because they already came assembled. And so we were just loosening them up to go ahead and put them up. And I thought it was unfair that the fifth year apprentice was doing the same work I was doing, not my first year. And I didn't think that was fair for him to be there with me doing that, because as you go up the ranks, you get more responsibilities. You're supposed to, unless you just got a bad attitude, then they might just have you do dumb shit. But most of the time I kept to myself, kept my mouth closed, did what they asked. If I had questions, I asked. If I wanted to do something, I would ask. But I didn't say anything. I talked to him about it, but he didn't really care. One great thing I remember to this day is that what he said is that no one can define my destiny, only I can. And I took that with me since then, because I'm all like, you're right. No one can define me, my destiny. You can't tell me that I'm gonna be in the slums. No. You might try to prevent me, and whether it's up to me to give up or not. But I digress. And work went on. I did learn a lot. I am thankful for the people that I did work with. One thing I'm gonna tell you that the guy said, he told the other apprentice that was in the same level as me, oh, don't worry about it. You're gonna be okay in this trade, blah, blah, blah. You're not a worker bee, as if he was referring to me. I'm like, excuse me? Not a worker bee. I mean, don't we all gotta start from somewhere? Like, I didn't know electrical was just in your blood, and it's not. I basically asked for my rotation now in a union. I wasn't really worried about not getting another job. But I asked for my rotation which is you get rotated out, which is you're supposed to get rotated out every so often. I think it's like after 2 years or something, but they never do. They just keep you where you're at. I don't know who's responsible for that, but whatever. Or you can put a request to get rotated out. So I put in my request to get rotated out, and after a while, they did, and they knew I was happy about that, because they were just all like, oh, he was all like, this is the most I've seen you smile, and I'm like, yeah, because you guys were jerks. But I was just happy to get out, move on to something else, because doing road work, which is what we were doing, we were putting up lights under these viaducts, not only to light up the freeway. We were on the freeway, but there were also like mini parks on top of the freeway. So we were putting up lights up there. And I learned a lot there too. I mean, you gotta grab what you can. I really didn't have no quarrels with anybody throughout, most of my apprenticeship. It's just little bits in here. People saying sly remarks, and you just gotta let that shit roll off your back. People are gonna test you. They're gonna test you on your skills, your knowledge, and your tolerance. So tolerance / patience. So most of the time, you just gotta let that shit roll off your back, cause people just be doing that shit just to get to you. Now, they should never put their hands on. That's a whole nother ball game. So there, I got let go, and being a minority, being a woman especially, that keeps to their self or has a big mouth. And I would tell you, I didn't have a big mouth. I really kept to myself. And I'll tell you, you're the first to go. It's not fair. And sometimes, if it just depends if they like you. There's been times where I spent months, over a year or two, with the companies, because I had a good rapport with the foreman or the GF or whoever did my work. I always stayed working. I wasn't sitting on my ass. I wasn't trying to get away with work. You didn't catch me sleeping somewhere. So they really didn't have an excuse to get rid of me. They could say my attitude at times, but for the most part, I kept on time. If not, I was early, get my work done. There's sometimes where I didn't know what I was doing, and so I was trying to figure it out, and so I might have took longer than usual, but it is what it is. But moving on. So yeah, I got rotated, laid off, asked for my rotation maybe about 3 times in my apprenticeship, and I got let go from a few. One experience I was going to tell you about is a unique experience. It was one of the worst and one of the best experiences that I had. So I was working on the pier, and I did a lot of road work because, of course, if you're minority, they try to get you onto these government jobs because they're trying to fulfill their minority numbers. Is a good thing, but at the same time, the contractors are not doing their job. So I was working at the pier, and we had to put up temporary power under the pier. So this is like 5-inch rigid, heavy ass pipe. I mean, I picked up 1 10-foot of pipe, and only a few times, but I didn't do it again because that shit can wear on your body. You don't want to do something that you don't have to do. You don't have to pick that shit up by yourself. They might try to joke and say, oh, you can't pick it up by yourself. I don't give a fuck. This is my body. I get one body. So we were putting up temporary power. It was the funnest. We got to drop boats into the water. I got to drive them in to where we were working a few times. That was pretty cool. I didn't have my boating license, but I still enjoyed it. We were on top of rafts, which had no edge, and I think we had like a paddle, and that's it. There'll be times where, and that job, it would be so cold that I would fall asleep standing up. There was another time, we also had to go by the tide, and so sometimes our schedule would change every other day, if not every day, so we can work under the pier. I did lose a tool or two, by accident and dropped in the water, because I was trying to figure out how to work the tool, and it's just a learning curve. So, but I met quite a few people, learned their story, they learned mine. Some cool journey people, some cool apprentices, some not so cool apprentices. Met this one lady. That's when I really found out that just because you're a homosexual doesn't mean you can't be racist. And so her, and some of them didn't really like that. They thought that, either I was too good or whatever the case was, but really I'm just genuinely a quiet person, and I just keep to myself and get my work done. And part of my philosophy is that I'm here to work and not make friends. Making friends is cool, but it comes second or third to get my job done or why I'm there. Other people, a journeyman that didn't want to show me how to work a tool. It was just like, you can't even show me that. There were some real jerks. They were real cliquish too. Really cliquish. And you'll find that people can be cliquish. And I understand you want to work with people that you get along with, and it just makes it more enjoyable. I agree with that. But you should also be inclusive, not trying to push people out. And there's people that will try to push other people out because they don't, fit their, fit their team. Fit them. They don't want to get to know them. I've been told some off the wall stuff. I've been treated some type of way. and I got to experience something really unique. I would say, I think I got to experience more different things than a usual person. I mean, who could say that they had to work on a boat, putting up pipe? You know, I worked in high rises. I worked in data center, vaults. I put up traffic signals. I did and dabbed in a little bit of everything. Putting up lights in a freeway, bending pipe, bending rigid, you know, hand bending, working at tech places like Facebook and Google, working at special facilities, working in a tunnel, working in track system, doing controls, putting up transformers, large gear. They made me work with him, and he had a coloscopy bag. And let me tell you, that one time that thing spilled. But he was nice. I enjoyed working with them. You know, it seemed like they put me with people that were either the same skin tone, female, or older. Usually they knew a whole lot. You learn more from the older people than you do sometimes from the new people. But overall, you know, working at the pier was my best and worst experience. Basically got let go quietly because they didn't tell me that they let me go. I already asked for my rotation and they wouldn't give it to me because, you know, supposedly one of the guys said, oh, if it wasn't for me meeting, you know, their 4 stars, that they would have kicked me out. Yeah, because you guys weren't treating me right. And so, yes, I had a bad attitude. Yes, I did. I could have had a better one, but I didn't. You know, I'm black, I'm female, I went through a pre-apprenticeship, and I don't know what the 4th one is, but they didn't want to let me go. It wasn't until one of the guys lied to me and told me, oh, you can stay home tomorrow for the rest of the week. And I was like, oh, okay. And then the lady comes to me, I don't know if she overheard or whatever, but she was like, oh, I'll see you tomorrow. What? We working tomorrow? I thought. So he told me to stay home the next day or the rest of the week, one of the two. It probably would have been like the next day. And because they didn't have any work. So I said, okay. Then all of a sudden, either lady overheard our conversation or what, and trying to instigate some shit, and ended up saying, oh, I'll see you tomorrow. And someone like, what? He just said that we're not working tomorrow. I didn't tell her that. I just called him up and told him, oh, I thought you said, well, we're not working tomorrow. No, I waited till the next day, called him up and said, I thought you said we're not working tomorrow, you're working today. He was like, oh yeah, we are working, there's a few people working, but blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, so now you mess with my money. I already asked for my rotation. And so I knew one thing that will get you let go faster, because of these contractors are just, you know, sneaky like that, is asking to speak to HR. So I was like, I need HR's number. I need to speak to them. Oh, you could just call the number, blah, blah, blah. He didn't give it to me. I had school that week anyway. So I went to school. It might have been the following day, because I went and got my tools, because I just thought that was some slick ass shit. I mean, you gonna tell me everyone's not working, but yet you knew that people are working? You messing with my money. Picked up my tools, asked for HR's number, whatever. Didn't even call him. So I'm at school. I go into the front desk because I'm cool with the front desk. And they're like, oh yeah, hey, we got your slip, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what slip? Oh, your layoff slip. And I'm all like, I didn't get no layoff slip. Oh yeah, it just came, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's what we're doing. Okay, so if it wasn't for going to the front desk and having school, I probably wouldn't have known that they let me go, even though I wanted to be let go. So yeah, that was that experience. You know, some people are hard to work with. Some people might say that about me, but one thing I don't stand for, and I was getting tired of, is me going up in the ranks. I'm like a 4th, 5th year by this time. And I have a journeywoman asking me, like she's quizzing me, oh, tell me what size this is. Oh, it's this. Why are you quizzing me? And then going back and checking me. And it's just like little stuff, like first year shit. Like, I mean, if you're gonna check me after I'm done, not when I'm just standing there and we're just, talking about, simple shit. And I just got tired of her treating me that way, and I just didn't say nothing to her. And she thought I had an attitude. And we used to have like a good relationship. We would talk about other shit, like fixing up our houses and stuff, and our past or whatnot, her experience. And I just couldn't take that part. Like, we can't get along, and then you treat me like shit. I ain't gonna like you. I mean, and I don't know why you treat me this way, because you should expect some level of, confidence and experience in my work, and not asking me first year shit. But I gotta let go of that job, and it's funny because the person that let me go from that job, seen him recently. Like, the position that I have now, he was taking a test for the same position. And I'm all like, life circles around. Life, no, it's a small world. It's a small world. Like, that's crazy. Hopefully I don't see her. Another thing I didn't like was that I felt like, and maybe I was just being big-headed, I feel like I wanted more responsibility. I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to be, a foreman, a GF. I wanted to go up the ranks. That's just the way I am. I felt like I need more. I need to do more. And them giving other people opportunities, which I should have never been, jealous of or envious of them, because thinking back, they did deserve that position, but I just felt at the time, I don't know, I just felt entitled, I guess. I could have stayed on with that company for longer, but either it was my ego or my eagerness to work for myself. We ain't gonna talk about that today. After that, I worked on and off. The last job that I worked as an apprentice, or no, by then I was a journey. The last job I worked as a journey for the union was a job that was just crazy. It was a crazy period. By then, I had been soiled by another rotten apples. And so my attitude was just like in a dump. It was just like, I had to deal with a lot. I mean, I would say, towards the end of my apprenticeship and as a journey, I started to have a bad attitude. You know, I didn't like how I was being treated, and I felt that every instance that I seen I was being treated, I took it as my whole experience, which wasn't true for the most part. But even my first day, it was like they were extremely unorganized, and I was like, man, they had me go. They told me I was gonna go to one area of the city, and then going to a totally different area of a different city. I was kind of like fed up, like, and they ended up letting go a friend of mine for some things that he couldn't really control, you know. But you know, when you're responsible for other people and other people do the wrong shit, you get blamed too. And I think all of them got let go. And they were talking shit about how, like, oh, you're letting all these people in and getting rid of all the old people to meet some type of quota and blah, blah, blah. Talking about because me and a few others who were female, you know, they had to hire because they were on a government job. They had to hire because they were on a government job, and also some other things transpired that they never tried to hire a woman minority. You know, it was just that they kept the people that they wanted to work there. And so whether that put a bad taste in everybody else's mouth, but it was like we got treated badly because of it. But you know, I felt like I was still cool with a lot of people. They gave me a lot of false hope, like, oh yeah, we're gonna make you foreman, blah, blah, blah. I'm waiting like months. It's not happening. Then I get told, oh, it never happened. They never told me that. I'm like, are you serious? Like, why would I lie about something like that? Okay. They were extremely unorganized. That's one thing I cannot stand, is when, you know, they expect the highest of you, but yet they can't meet those standards. They hired a foreman to oversee me and another person. You could tell there was some alcohol issues. Yeah. I think that's all I'm going to say, because that was a huge deal. And whether they blame me for it or I don't know, but basically people don't know until they get the full story. And there's always two sides to the story, depending on how many people. My side, their side, and then the truth. So I can only give my perspective. My perspective is that they should have never hired this guy to oversee other people, especially, you know, after a while you're not showing up to work, or not, you're showing up late to work, or you leaving at lunch, or leaving period, and you're not picking up the phone, we can't find you. One thing I would say, even though I say you gotta let a lot of shit roll off your back, you gotta tolerate a lot of shit too. And of course, there's so much you can tolerate. And I think I was just at my moment where I felt like I didn't need this place, that place, and I wanted to move on. It was not a healthy place for anybody to be. And it's sad because you know, other people will tolerate it, but tolerate abuse and then blame you for speaking up for them. Like, where they do that at? Either you hate me more than me speaking up for you. sticking up for you. You must hate me more than for me to stick up for you. That, to me, that it just blows my mind. But I wasn't the only person that experienced a very negative experience at that company. And that company was another state company in my city. And getting government jobs, contracts. So I had fun doing the work when we all got along. When we got along, I mean, we went out for drinks after work. So it wasn't that we just hated each other. We just, at times, you know, sometimes it got heated. Like, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Sometimes it got heated. And at that point, after enduring all that shit that I went through the apprenticeship, you know, I was just like not having it. And I think things need to change in the trade. I think attitudes need to change in the trade, how we treat people. You know, everyone, there's a place for everybody. Sometimes that's not in that field. Yeah, but overall, my experience was 85% good, 15% negative. Could be higher. Experience in the trade was good. The money was good. You know, most of the people were good. You know, I felt like I got along with just about everybody. Of course, you get some people that don't like you for whatever reason. It never deterred me. I would still go back. I don't know for how long, because I just feel like, not that I'm better, but I'm growing. And I'm someone that, if I feel like my calling is above and that I am trying to achieve something above than where I'm at, then I'm going to try to attain that. And if you're not with that program, then I just can't be in that space. I hope that doesn't deter people from getting to the trade. It is a great, lucrative trade to be in. You can make a living. All right, y'all. Love you, cuz.